this deck is something that I would actually send to somebody potentially if I would want their business, you know. But the difference is this is more geared towards an off-road photography job. So it could be potentially for, hey, I'm bidding on working for some truck company or some UTV or power sports or whatever. I just kind of would want to show them a little bit of the range of what I can shoot when it's just not on pavement, you know. But it's something, I'll be honest, guys, everyone's watching, this is something that I just put together quickly, but I'm still proud of some of the imagery that I've captured over the years that I can kind of present in this presentation. So we'll go on from here.
Absolutely. Let's click through this. Can you break down just some of your equipment? Maybe go to camera body and your top 3 lenses. I think that's something to me is so interesting to kind of like see and set the premise before we start going through the imagery. But we can bring up the keynote there and kind of just keep going through it.
Well, I just wanted to show you this body. This is I don't know if you have a body like this. This is the second 1DX body that I've ever purchased, and so this, it looks kind of newish. It's because I've pretty much had every panel replaced, but you can still see where the old is and then where it goes into the new body, you know. But the funny thing is the electronics, everything is still the same. So if you guys can see, it has 1.2 million actuations, this body.
Jeez,
and it's still going. Can you believe that?
I mean, 14 frames per second and just shooting these high speed vehicles.
It's still going, you know. I'm probably about to hit 1.4 right now. But this
live, we just hit it
live. This is just this is just one of the bodies that we use. As you can see behind me, I have so many other bodies, but we, you know, I sell them too. Like I had one at 1.4 and I sold it because we just don't need it, you know. But in hindsight, I probably should have kept it, and I probably should have just kept shooting with it till 2 million actuations. But this one, honestly, like we've probably just went through 3 shutters on this thing, and I'm always the proudest to kind of go to Canon first and like, hey, I'm the first one to go through a shutter on your bodies.
I mean, I think that's the most amazing thing. These like EOS bodies are made, they're weatherproof. In this climate. I mean, you're taking this out in the desert, you're on the road, I'm taking this thing into the ocean with the Aquatech water housing, but still in the water, and they're handling. And that weatherproofing, it is paramount for what we're doing here, because we aren't shooting in a studio. We aren't shooting a stage setup or something like that. We are going as hard as we can against the elements in that degree, you know. And
the question that I get asked the most, look, I'm pulling tape off right now. Everyone asks me, why do I tape up my cameras and lenses? And that's the exact reason, is because we're shooting out in the elements. I'm banging my cameras against rocks, against everything, you know. They are taking so much abuse. They're getting dragged on the ground. They're falling out of cars. They're just getting destroyed. But again, with that said, I know we're on the Canon subject, but the best camera, as always, is the one that you have with you, and that's why I always shoot on my cell phone. I definitely promote shooting on your cell phone as much as you can, and part of it is that it kind of gets you into that mentality, and then you can work on your composition and you can work on everything else, and then that way you can shoot better with your DSLR or mirrorless camera. In fact,
I mean, you're really limited to your imagination and creativity. It's not your equipment. The equipment, no doubt, 14 frames per second, new 1DX3, 16 frames per second. But you shouldn't be limited to just that. Those definitely enhance and help, no doubt. I'm not saying that. But also, it's how you use it. It's how you get comfortable with it and how you get out there and create and do, because I've seen incredible images from all different facets and platforms of equipment.
So we'll move on to the slideshow before I get sidetracked again. But yeah, so this slideshow, bear with me, guys. It's just something I put together quick, but this is actually something that I would share with a potential client just to show them my work. Yes, it's easy for them to scroll down my Instagram. Yes, it's probably easy also to go to my website or check out Hoonigan autofocus. But this is just kind of direct, like a thing that's more catered to the certain client. So let's say a Honda Power Sports or a Can-Am or a Yamaha or someone came up to me and they're like, hey, we are interested in hiring you for some shooting on the dirt. Can you show us what you can do? So the lead image is of my buddy Matt Farah in his 911 on at El Mirage, which is actually where drag racing and land speed racing got invented. So this is
what lens were you using on that? I'm sorry.
That was with a 400 2.8. That was with a 400 2.8. I mean, so this
just beautiful how you pulled it in.
This presentation is more of like, hey, look, I'm a car guy. I want to kind of convey that. You know, it's not just about the pictures. I'm going to be proud of the pictures that I take. You know, I'm not there just for a paycheck. I'm there to capture the best possible imagery. So you can see that's me with my FJ. That's the one that I use to actually chase racing, to chase off-road racing. And then you can see I'm there shooting with my 400 2.8. But it's just so much about conveying speed different ways. You know, I'm conveying speed, like the picture on the upper left, that Jeep is going 1 mile an hour. Okay. It is going so slow, but look what it's doing. It's going up this sheer rock face, you know, so it's,
and the dust kind of coming off there is just,
it's struggling. It's redlining. It's doing everything it can just to get up this thing. So that's in an instance when freezing the action actually conveys the speed more versus if I try to shoot slow shutter and like kind of panic going up. It's just the setting and also the way you shoot it just depends on the occasion, right? So if you look at the photo on the bottom right, that again, same thing. Yeah, that Porsche going through the snow, potentially it could be cool to do a pan with it at slower shutter speed, but I chose to freeze it so the individual chunks, everything is frozen in air, and it kind of shows potentially this scene would never happen. It would just, it couldn't physically happen without it going so fast and going through the snow, you know? And then same thing on the bottom left, if you could see, that's a slower shutter speed shot, and then that conveys the speed that way.
I mean, absolutely insane and great variety of imagery. I think what my eye also is getting pulled with is your use of light. It's just absolutely perfect. And that's not, I mean, right there, you know exactly what I'm saying. Thanks a lot, Larry. But you know, it's something that you're using, but it's not by accident, right? This is something, if you're doing a commercial shoot, you guys, anything you're doing, Larry, this is something that you've planned out, that you know this is doing. Luck does play a part in these things. But also the planning and the experience, knowing your camera, your settings, this is like, that gives you a feeling. It puts you there.
So that's,
you know,
that's the thing, is these moments, hundreds of these moments happen over time, over your time with your subject, and it's up to you to capture them, you know. And beautiful moments happen all the time, and with a person that doesn't have a camera and that's not their job to capture it, it just flies by them, and they may think, oh wow, that's a cool scene, but in my eyes, I'm thinking like a million things a minute in terms of, oh my god, is my focus on point, is my shutter speed, ISO, like I'm always fiddling with my settings. And that's kind of one of the big tips for you guys. And hey guys, keep asking the questions, because for the new watchers, people who just tuned in, keep asking the questions.
We're compiling it all.
We're going to compile them. I'm going to go through as many as I can. But I think it's the same way with you, Zach. When we're actually out in the field shooting, you cannot spend any time looking at your settings at your camera. It has to be second nature. In fact, if I filed off all of the names on all of the labels on this camera, I can still use it because it needs to be second nature. By the time you think, oh, I need to go up in exposure or down, the moment's already gone, especially with surfing and with car photography. I mean, you look at these moments, like, how long did these moments last? You know, like the guy, Shannon Campbell, going up this, basically driving backwards through a waterfall, a dried up waterfall. Like, how long do you think that moment happened? Like, quarter of a second of him actually, like kicking up that dust, you know, and
right.
That's why everyone calls me Machine Gun Larry. I'm machine gunning for a reason. I'm machine gunning because when that moment happened, guess what? I got 5 shots of it because of a quarter of a second.
Jeez.
You know, I have 5 options to go through. Let's keep going.
You know, and I think that goes, like, just one quick second on that. It's like the 1DX3, you're now at 16 frames per second.
Yeah.
So now give me the rundown, because going from 14 frames to 16 frames doesn't seem like a lot. Yet I found with shooting it in the water, going from that, I was seeing a massive difference. So, you know, and so it was like, how much more are you getting? So a wave, a guy dropping in, it used to be 52 frames for one wave from drop in to kick out at pipeline. So I'm now seeing like 74.
Here's something that's really a thing that you don't really get to experience unless you've been using these cameras for a long time. And these are kind of the tips that I want to be able to give to you guys. Part of it, it's not so much the how many frames per second at 14 to 16. It's the delay in between shots, even when you're shooting at like a smaller shutter or a smaller aperture. So what people don't realize is the shutter speed or the speed of how fast a camera can shoot, especially on a Canon camera, depends also on the lens, because it actually has to close down every single time, and it has to open up again for you to shoot another shot. You know, otherwise, what it doesn't do is when you hold down the shutter, it doesn't just close the aperture and it stays closed. Otherwise, it's too dark. You can't actually see through it. You can't actually compose your shot. So what it's actually doing when it goes from 14 frames to 16 frames per second is little things like that is even improving to get a higher frame rate. Let's say if you're shooting at f22 or whatever, it's actually shortening the time between that by a lot, you know, and Canon may come on and be like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, Larry, but like, this is stuff.
I'm sure John will tell us later, right?
This is stuff from the field that I've just figured out. I just felt it, you know, over the years. And a lot of people, and another thing, just on this slide, guys, if you guys are looking at this camera and you're like, for example, this camera is only 18 megapixels only, I say, and then the 1DX Mark IIIs are 20 megapixels, but I don't limit myself to that. If you look at the photo below, that's of Casey Curry's Jeep truck. That photo is over 200 megapixels, and I shot that with a 1D series body. And of course, it's because I stitched the photo together. You know, why not use technology to your advantage?
How you use it.
Yeah.
How you're using it. Absolutely.
So
I mean, getting the job done in that way.
With Lightroom and Photoshop, this is the best part, guys. You guys, your mind is going to be blown right now. With Lightroom and Photoshop, when I stitch that photo together, it has the same properties as just a single raw image. You know, you could still change the color. You could still have that depth in terms of range of stops and everything, just like a single image that you took from a 1D photo if you stitch it together. You know, yes, there's certain rules that you have to follow in terms of making sure, you know, you're at a single point. But this one, you don't even need any fancy equipment. I just did this from my hand, you know, so I just made sure like I was swiveling just on the same spot. And I just locked.
How much post did it take you to put something like this together? I mean, it's insane. I had no idea, but that size of a file and just the quality that you have here is mind-blowing.
That photo actually is pretty close to out of camera. The only thing that we did was we brought the background back a little bit. And that's the beauty of it, because it has that dynamic range of a normal 1D file. I can do that easily. But as you guys probably can imagine, a lot of the people that follow my work, everything looks as real as possible. You know, I want to kind of convey how the image and the scene actually looked when I was there. You know.
Yeah. I mean, just same as with like surf photography or what I like to do, you know, you want to show that power, but you also want to put the viewer there in that same aspect and that same way, make it look like that. I mean, using too wide of a lens, you don't see that same way.
Yeah.
So being able to put it exactly how you saw it, you know, and I think that goes for everyone's like editing styles as well. This is how you saw it in that moment. It's up to you to bring that back and to show that. So I think that's something that's unique to everyone in how you see the colors and how you see the space.
Yeah. So like that shot on the lower left, it's one of my favorite shots. Nuts. It's actually during race, like an actual race. And we woke up at 4 a.m. just to be on the lake bed in time for this guy to come through the hills, which that's why he made those layers, you know? And then when he got onto the lake bed, flat out, full speed, during sunrise, it's like the picture perfect moment for me as a race photographer, you know, because the best part is you can't even tell what kind of car it is, you know, you can't even tell, but it conveys that speed and kind of just the beauty of racing. Racing is just so dirty and gritty, and you know, it's hard to kind of convey how interesting it is, but in my eyes, visually, it's just so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think that goes to just kind of talking about like vision and creation, because a lot of times with surf or different things, you'll see how the light's reacting different, how it's hitting the water or where the sun's setting or some kind of thing like that. But to have the vision, like you said, you woke up at 4, you knew he was coming down in this way, but having all those things set, you couldn't have him go back.
Yeah.
You couldn't say, could you go reset and do that one more time? The moment is there, and that's knowing your settings, knowing your camera, and having your composition, because that could have guys, I didn't get that one in focus. Like, no,
I can't tell you. I can't tell you how many moments. Like, it's unlimited moments that I watched happen, and I'm like, oh man, I wasn't fast enough.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Between Sets. Make sure to like and subscribe to be tuned in on all future episodes. Thank you.